Well, welcome everybody to another ITRS webinar. This one is about our core banking solution for Transact and Infinity, formerly known as T24, and for the sake of ease and habit, I'll be referring to it as T24 throughout this webinar. I'm Chris Burnett, it's myself. I'm head of solution innovation at ITRS Group, and I've been creating many monitoring solutions for lots of different clients over the years. I'm also joined by Marius from BankTech, who is a Temenos expert, T24 expert. BankTech are an official Temenos partner, and we've used our ITRS monitoring expertise and BankTech's T24 expertise, married those two together to come up with a bespoke, tailor-made ITRS as a T24 monitoring solution. So what's this webinar about? It's for me, my aim here is to convince you that there is a better way to run your Transact and Infinity operations to prevent business downtime. So I'm going to be running through a presentation, kind of showing you some benefits and some problems that we solve and so on, followed by a quick demo as well. And then we will lead on to a Q&A session. So like I said, ITRS, we're the monitoring experts. BankTech are the T24 experts. We've been around, ITRS has been around for a long time, 25 years now. Global company, over 4,000 clients, including some of the big names, HSBC, Credit Suisse, Deutsche Bank, and so on. Lots of different clients in lots of different fields as well, not just the capital markets and retail space. So what am I going to be showing you? The first thing, I'm going to show you the problems that we solve. So when we talk to 2024 users, there's typically 4 problems. One is they have monitoring gaps, multiple tools, a lack of a tailored monitoring solution, and a lack of contextual understanding. I'm going to be showing you today through this presentation and the demo, and I will literally be tagging and referring to each one of these by number of how we address these problems. When you have these problems, it basically combines to a lack of observability, which is another word for understanding. So a lack of understanding of your environment. And if you have that lack of understanding, then you are open to operational resilience risk, and you are open to customer experience risk. So that's what we're trying to address, specifically by those 4 root cause problems. Also going to be showing some benefits. Benefits, not monitoring benefits, but benefits specifically from our solution. I'm specifically going to show you how we decrease your time to issue resolution, how we deliver you preventative monitoring, and operational cost savings. Again, I will be tagging these 3 items in the presentation. And there's also some differentiators between our competitors. There's lots of monitoring tools out there. There's quite a few that do T24 as well. If you drew a Venn diagram, there is an overlap between everybody. Everybody does certain things, but not everybody does everything. And everyone has certain strengths. And so I will be pointing out these 12 differentiators that we deliver, and not all of the other offerings on the market do. So that's how I will be trying to convince you that there's a better way to run your T24 operations. So let's start. Start with a story, which is a good way to go. There's an incident room scenario. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. There's a P1 incident happened, and everybody's on the phone. You've got your network guy talking networks. You've got your service guy talking services. You've got your T24 guy talking T24, and no one understands what each other's talking about because they're all using different languages and they're all blaming each other. And tick, 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 the clock is still running. Why does this happen? Well, it typically happens because you have a wall of noise. You've got data. Everyone has some data, but it's not contextual. It's just a load of low-level data, and it ironically can be too much data or the wrong data at the wrong time. So basically, it's just a wall of noise. Actually, what's more common is a wall of noise with gaps, because you don't have everything covered anyway. So this is why everybody's kind of, messing around, trying to work out what's going on and who's accountable and who needs to go and fix what. So there is another way. use our cause and effect contextual views. This way, everything is mapped out in English at a high level using service and business KPIs so that everybody understands what's happening and everybody can point to the same screen, use the same language and say, yes, that's my responsibility. I'll go and do that. There's some thematic dashboards. I will be going through these in a bit more detail below that, which goes into more detail. And then you have your low-level investigative data down the bottom, which is what everybody has. And when I say these are cause and effect contextual views, these are not typical dashboards. These are not where you just drag and drop some data on and create using some predefined widgets. These are custom infographics specifically designed for T24. If you were a Formula One team, we would have a Formula One car with some tires going red. So these are infographics, not your regular dashboards. And that's one of the ways that our solution reduces that time to issue resolution. It's not because we're providing you the data. Lots of people provide you data. It's because we're providing you data in context, in understanding, with understanding, and that's observability. And this is a unique way that we do it. So let's move into that solution offering. Like I said, it's a three-tier solution. So the first dashboard answers two fundamental questions. Are clients impacted? And are there any underlying issues causing that client impact? We break that down into two more thematic dashboards, one dedicated to client impact and one dedicated to those underlying platform issues, which I will be going through. There's a third one, which is dedicated specifically to the COB, where it shows you all health and performance issues for your COB. Then obviously you have your investigative views down the bottom. So those dashboards are there to instantly tell you what's important right now with instant understanding. The investigative views is all of your data that you can go around exploring and seeing what's around you and what's coming up ahead. So what's supported in terms of T24? We support J, C, and cloud. It makes no difference to us, and it's release agnostic. So it doesn't, so it will cover all of those T24 environments. It's not just a monitoring tool that provides you that understanding. It's also an operation. There's a lot of operational functions. We provide you T24 management through command and control. This is a command and control screen console as well, where we have pre-configured T24 commands. There's T24 automation also, where you can do scheduling of your pre-COB jobs, your post-COB jobs, automatic actions that appear that automatically run based on value or severity state changes, or any other kind of state changes for that matter. And again, this is relating to those differentiators, the pink ones. That's differentiator number 4. This operational functionality is not always available, so we provide it. Also, another important point to make is the time to value, that differentiator. This is an out-of-the-box pre-configured solution. You do not need to create this. We've done all of the hard work for you to create something that's relevant for T24 users using BankTech's expertise and our monitoring best practice. You do not need to, this isn't a toolbox where you need to create a solution yourself. And that's also how you get those operational cost savings, that benefit. It takes a long time to create a good monitoring solution. The amount of people that say, "Oh, it's my application, I know what to monitor," that's not true. It's because it's your application, you're in the weeds and you're not taking a step back and working out what's around you, which is where you get improved observability. Because it's your application, you are definitely the SME and you know the best way to get the data, but what should you be monitoring? You don't always know. Well, this is all done out of the box. That's why you get those operational cost savings. And also, because of all that functionality, the operational functionality we're providing you, you're not messing around, jumping through screens onto different monitoring tools, different consoles. You can all do it you can get into T24 from our solution. It's also a light touch agent footprint. Again, that's another differentiator. Not everyone has a light touch agent that sits on your servers. Ours is super light touch. So let's go through this. What do you get with your overview dashboard? Well, you get, starting on in the middle here, get one of those answering one of those problem statements, end-to-end contextual understanding. This is your data flow application set. It goes through web servers, into messaging, your queuing messages, your core banking system itself, and your database. So this is that where this is your whole end-to-end platform. Core banking on its own, T24 on its own doesn't work. It needs all of this other stuff to work around it in order. And that's another one of those differentiators. That contextual understanding is something that is not everybody provides. So here you can see I've got memory issues, I've got topic issues, Java alerts, database locks. Another part is another problem relating to contextual understanding is root cause. Again, there's a dependency stack, the way we've designed this infographic. You can start with your client impact, your transaction, your customers, your API calls, everything that impacts your clients and your users. Down to your banking services, the 24 services, your 24 agents. Your impact is dependent on your services. Your services are dependent on this application layer that I went through. So I'm just picking out the core banking as an example there, which is dependent on your hosting layer. So again, that's one of those differentiators. This dependency stack contextual understanding that's unique to us. What else is this doing? Because this is in real time, like I said, it's also delivering you preventative monitoring. It's that CPU memory first, because you get this instantly by default every 20-second sampling, but you can go down to 1 second sampling. Fix that now as soon as you see it, because if you wait, if you wait, some platforms you have to, some monitoring tools you have to wait at like an aggregated minute or 5 minutes or so on. It'll be too late. Because you get this in real time, fix that CPU issue now. It prevents that core banking, the T24 issue happening, which prevents the banking services happening, which prevents that client impact in the first place. So yes, this does you root cause, but the real way of doing it is getting there first before it generates those problems. Obviously, there's no gaps. This is your complete jigsaw puzzle of that platform. So that's addressing that problem statement. This is everything you need. Which is also a differentiator. Not everybody can do all of these technologies and applications. One single tool, all of this. You're not jumping around between multiple tools. And again, this is tailored for T24. Like, you won't get that contextual understanding with a generic tool that hasn't been designed for T24, which is one of those differentiators. So let's move on to those thematic dashboards. So that previous dashboard tells you, is there a client impact and what is it at a high level? And is there an underlying issue? This goes into a bit more detail. So let's go and have a look at client impact. So this is your client impact dashboard. What does client impact mean? Well, client impact is typically by 4 different themes. You've got your actual your T24 transactions running through the system. This is showing you that you are 12% slower than normal. Those transactions are running slower. I can show you later on in those investigative views that going right down to the individual slow transactions, the message IDs. But this is giving you some historical analysis. So you are slower now than you normally are. Go and have a look. These are customer synthetic scenarios. So these are actual scenarios. The customers are synthetic scenarios. You can record as many as you like. We've done some out of the box here for you. So this is showing you that the account scenarios are running slowly. So this is simulating your internet banking customers. Also here on the users, these are more scenarios that we're testing based on your internal users. These are using the old browser or the new browser, plus the API tests. And there's a bunch of session information. So everything here that could possibly be related to client impact is shown in one place for that instant understanding. Which is another differentiator. So we have designed something that's specifically client impact focused here. It's not lost in all of the other information. Also, another differentiator is a lot of these business and service KPIs We have created those. They do not come from your system. There is no such message that we're getting. There's no such KPI we're getting that tells you it's slower. We have created that based on as some derived KPIs. Go back and look at the platform one. So let's say that there's a web server issue. This is your platform dashboard. Starting at the top, these are all of your messages going through. So how many systems messages you've got going through the system, average time, error queues. You also see something I haven't mentioned yet, this running man and a heart. This is on every dashboard. This is to instantly tell you whether this is a performance metric or a health metric. Now we get into your T24. These are your T24 long running services. So which ones they shouldn't be long running? Go and have a look. So you can double click into this. You can see the exact service it's running, when it was started, and so on. The same thing, and how many agents are corresponding. If you've got slow services, maybe you don't have enough agents allocated to them. These are your long running agents. There's also a lot of log file monitoring that we're doing with the T20 that feeding into this T24, EJB, and so on. Then we run onto your databases. How many long running queries do you have? And how many this hour? Is the number going up? The longer the running queries, the more impact you're going to get. Plus the usual stuff, database alerts, locks, instances, CPU memory, host alerts, web server alerts. And again, some of these things are business KPIs and service KPIs that we have created. There's no such metric that tells you you've got one long running service. We've created that. And then lastly, the COB. Go and have a look at the COB. So this is dedicated to your place of business. It tells you how long it's been running for, what the state of it is, what percentage complete it is, some historic runs here, because it could be running perfectly fine every single day, but if it gets slightly slower every single day, it will trigger this alert for you, and broken down by stages. Percentage complete, status, time, log alerts, host alerts relating to these COBs. And also, when it comes to the running of the time, you don't know whether that's a good time or not. Is 7 hours and 34 minutes and 20 seconds a good time? You have no idea. So we tell you whether this is the delta between the average, historical average. So if it takes longer than normal, you need to have a look. If it's quicker than normal, you need to have a look. And so this tells you, and then you can click into this. It will take you down to that low level that will give you the exact, all the way down to the job level information. Again, here's a bunch of these are business and service KPIs that do not exist in your system. We have created. There's no such metric that tells you your COB is 48% complete. We've done that for your instant understanding. Also, here's some examples of commands. So we've pre-configured a load of commands for you for that management. You can clear, restart the COB, clear the disk space, and so on. View log files. These are all customizable. Everything I've shown you today is out of the box. If there's something here that something extra that you need, this is all customizable. So I've shown you the 4 problems. I've tagged these up. I've literally pointed them out to you, how we've solved these problems and the benefits. And I've shown you these differentiators, the client impact focus, the business service level KPIs, the time to value, because this is all pre-configured. We've done the hard work for you, real time. I've shown you that it's customizable, light touch. There's 2 more I haven't shown you. It's expandable for other applications and platforms, and it's future-proof for new technology. Remember, we're a monitoring company here. This is our speciality. So it's not just T24 monitoring we do lots more stuff. So this is our complete observability platform. We do lots of application monitoring, lots of infrastructure, digital experience, capacity, cloud cost management, and data analytics to go with it all. Here are some of the supported technologies. So if you want to expand beyond T24, we can do all of this. This is just a selection: cloud monitoring, Docker monitoring, middleware, trading, all this kind of all this good stuff. If there's something here that isn't, if you have something bespoke that isn't here, then we have a wide selection of toolkits. So Java, in-app monitoring, APIs, toolkits, SQL, and so on. That's why we're also expandable to other applications and platforms, which is a differentiator. Not everybody can do that. And we're future-proof. We're constantly releasing new plugins to come up with new, whenever there's to meet the latest demand. So they were the dashboards. That was the story. I'm now going to jump out of this and show you the investigation layer. So here we go. So these are the this is a live running demo now, running against, it's a development environment at T24, which is why a lot of it's red. But this is real. This is all really happening now. If I click into client impact, it takes me through to that client impact dashboard. So this is, you know, how we're running. We can see there's some log errors running with the API. There's a bunch of payments that are not, some user payment scenarios that are failing. So we can double click into this and have a look. This is the platform dashboard, like I was telling you. So these are all of those log alerts, T24 log databases and so on, the long running queries and the COB. So this is all real. So let me now go down into that investigative layer. Well, I'll show you. So if I go into core banking, I can see some T24 logs here. Let me have a look at these. It takes me all the way into here. Let me have a look what's happening here. These are my log errors that's going on. I've got some database logs, EJBs, they're all fine. I've got log collisions. Let me right click here, view near this trigger, and here we go. I've got a log collision between a payment, a SEPA payment here. So I've taken you from that super high level, what's going on in my world, all the way down to an individual log collision error. So let's go back to this investigative view. So what can I see? Let's start with my services. So this is where I can go exploring around. These are my services that are running, my banking services, T24 services. These are the auto ones. These are the run ones. You can tell when it stopped, started. The agents that are running, Marius, the agents aren't running. We could get those up and running.
Yes, I'll restart them.
Yeah. So you can see that there are two pending. There are two auto scheduled services that should have started by now, and they have not. So this is flagged up as red. You can see the description, when it was started, the fact when it should have started, the inputter, authorizer, and so on. This information is available for all of the agents that are running, scheduled to run. Sorry, the services that are running, the manual ones, the auto ones, and the TSM as well, plus the services. And here are your logs. We're looking at keyword monitoring in all your TSA logs. Moving on to the COB. Again, so like I showed you, this is all of that low-level information. So in the dashboard, I was showing you what's important for instant understanding. This is the detail, right down to the individual job ID. Which job was running, how long did it take, who did it, all this kind of stuff. There's lots of other information here too, going down to the stages. On the core banking side, the application, you've got obviously the T24 logs, you've got a process that's running for core banking, the JVM information that's running T24 itself. On the database side, we support multiple databases, but if I go into Oracle, for example, here are all your locks, your table locks. I showed you file locks before. Lock collisions is your table locks. Who's the inputter, how long it's been locked for. Long running queries. I don't have any in my Oracle one. If I go into SQL, there we go. I have some long running queries here in SQL. How long it's been running, and so on, and who inputted it, and so on, like that. So lots of information there about your databases, your host. This is standard stuff here. So you're, with the CPU, the hardware, network card speed, I/O, all this kind of stuff, disk usage or file system usage. On the impact side, I do want to show you this. These are those SEPA payment scenarios that we were running, and it was running slowly. It's failed, actually. I can see how it failed. I can go into here. I can see that we were trying to log in to do a SEPA payment, and the login section failed. I can even see a little photograph of what's gone wrong. It's my password has terminated. So that's why I can't log in and do a SEPA payment. on this, here's your API tests, how long they've been running. These are all configurable. System transactions. These are all of the transactions that are running through the system. So these are live transactions. I can tell you the average duration, the average latency, how many there are of each type. And I can even go down to the individual transaction message for any slow transactions in your system. And here is the exact latency time for this exact message ID. And there's also lost messages as well. And these are all configurable. Going on to the messaging, ActiveMQ, RabbitMQ, IBMQ makes no difference to us, but we're showing you all of this information. So what's going on in the queues, how many queues are in there, the oldest message, the average message, and so on. And all the different types of queues that exist. So lots of information going around here. And web servers. Yeah, obviously, again, it won't work without your web servers. So here's all of the WebLogic web servers. There's WebSphere web servers. It makes no difference to us. We have templates for all of them. So that is the end of the demo. So like I say, I've shown you the actual dashboards. I've shown you the real dashboards. I've shown you the stories. So thank you very much. I hope I've convinced you that there is a better way to run your T24 operations and prevent downtime. Also, I have literally pointed out every single one of these items, the problems that we solved, the benefits that were specific from our solution and our differentiators. Yeah. Any questions? Angelo.
Okay, Chris, we got a couple of questions. First one, what T24 platforms do you currently support?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, all of them. We're release agnostic, platform agnostic. Doesn't matter if it's C, J, on-prem, as a service provider. If you are a service provider for T24, we have lots of SLA and error budget monitoring dashboards for T24 to run as well. Or if you're a multi-instance T24, if you're someone that run multi-instances, again, we have multi-instance monitoring that sits a layer above everything I've shown you. And it's release agnostic too.
Great, thank you. You mentioned transaction and synthetic monitoring. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so again, in this impact dashboard, so the synthetic monitoring are those scenarios. So we have some payment, accounts, lending, deposits, and arrangement scenarios. These are all customizable. You can create your own scenarios if you have custom modules, and we tell you whether those response to those scenarios are running slowly or not, and also the state of them as well. Like I showed you, this payment one is failing, and I showed you why it's failing. I went in and even took a little photograph of me to show me that my password has expired. So I could tell you why that's happened. And the same thing with the API tests. It's running normally at the moment with normal tolerances. There's a trend here of what the latency is or the turnaround time is for my API tests. I do have one critical log error, which I could go and have a look into. And remember, for the actual transactions, I showed you that detail that goes right down to the individual message ID.
Great, thanks. A couple more questions. Can the solution be configured to TAFC?
To TAC?
TAFC.
TFC,
TAFC, I think.
Oh, TAFC, yes. Yeah, exactly. So like I showed you, like the solution looks exactly, this is running on J at the moment, but the solution will be exactly it's the same problems, it's the same benefits, it's the same differentiators, it's the same deliverable in terms of solution. The only difference is that we would use a slightly different plugin to go behind it. So instead of using a load of Java plugins, we would use a load of C plugins. Just like I showed you with your web server. You know, if you're using WebSphere or WebLogic or any other kind of web server, we have a plugin to go with it. I showed you that long list of lots of different development solution, lots of different plugins that we're constantly releasing to meet new technologies, and we have the toolkits that we can use in case there is nothing that's pre-compiled. So it doesn't really matter what the tech stack is. We have a different plugin. The plumbing would be different. The solution is the same.
Perfect. And the final question, what can the solution do outside of T24 monitoring?
Yeah, so I'll bring that slide back up again. So what I've shown you today is just our T20 monitoring solution. There was some data analytics there, but we have a whole other load of solutions and offerings from multiple application suites to again from the whole digital experience side of things on the website, real user monitoring, synthetic monitoring, and cloud cost optimization, plus all of the data aggregation analytics and some predictive algorithms that we can use again for all of this data to come into one place. And like I said, we're releasing new solutions. We're releasing new solutions every year. So this list just keeps growing and growing and growing. T24 is just one of the items on here.
Perfect. I think that is everything, unless anyone has any more questions. I think that's it then.
Great. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Yep, I hope you enjoyed the webinar. I certainly did. I do like doing these things. Perfect. Andrew, are you going to stop recording?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for your time.